Hello guys, it is Shivam here. Welcome to part 2 of real-time chat app from the scratch with the help of Flutter and Firebase. So on this series, we are simply going to cover user authentication, real-time chat, responsive UI and many more. So do not forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and let's keep the like aim on this video of 500 likes. I know you will definitely do that. Now let's get started. But before we move to the code, I want to simply show you how our chat app will look alike at the end of this series. On the center, you can see the iOS device where I have simply opened my chat app, and on the right, you can see the Android chat app that we have successfully launched in the Android app. So this give a complete conclusion that this course will be for both Android and iOS, as you can see on the screen. Now the reason for showing the two screens over here, because to simply give you an idea, like a two person who has a two different devices can use this app to have a chat, right? Now here, first I am going to authenticate with the help of Google in my Android device. Then I will authenticate with the help of Google in the iOS device. So let's click to this sign in with Google button, and now we'll simply click to this iOS button also, and we'll select one of my account for my Android device and one of my account for iOS device. Now we'll simply sign in with Google in both the device, and we have simply registered successfully and directly move to the home page. Now in the home page, you can see at the top we have simply added a wave emoji and a hello, and here we have simply shown the user name that have been simply used by the user to sign up in the app with the help of Google. Now here you can see the welcome to text with a chat up text. Now chat up is the app name that I have simply kept for this chat app, and here you can see the profile icon, and by tapping to this icon we'll directly move to the profile page where the user can simply see their profile picture, their name, the email, the logout and the delete button. So we have also added a logout and delete button in the profile page. Now let's back to the home page, and here you can see the search bar where the user can simply search for the respective username that he want to have in chat. Now what is this username? So now the reason for giving a username is something like this. It's just like an Instagram. So in the Instagram, as you know that each user have their own specific username, so that the thing we have simply done in our chat app, where we are going to provide the unique username to the each user, and by writing that username the user can simply have a chat with that user. Yeah, so now I'm going to simply write the username that I have simply signed up through my Android device, and here I will just write app crafting, and here we'll directly move to the chat page, and here you can see that it simply shows the username through which I am having a chat. And here in the chat page you can see that we have added an option to simply send a voice note to the user and a message bar so that they can send a message to the user, and you can see that we have added a attach file icon, and by pressing to this icon they can simply send the image to the respective user. So I will simply send my first message from here, and will just write hello, how are you, and will simply send this message from here, and you will see that after sending a message the message frequently appeared in my mobile device. Now I will simply tap and will send a reply to here, and you can see that it simply shows an option to give an permission to send the voice note to this user. So I will simply give a permission, and here you can see that hello, how are you message. Now I will simply reply to it and will just say hi, I am fine. Yeah, so here you can see that in no seconds we will get a message on the real time, and the two users can simply have a chat. So this is an awesome chat app. Now let's send a reply to him, and we'll say how this app is, and you can see in just a few seconds we get the message in our other device, and I will simply reply that yes, it is great. Yeah, so here you can see that the two users can simply have an awesome chat between each other like one to one in no time, and we can simply get a message from one device to the another. Now let's move and let's send the image to Shivam. Like if he asked me an image for the watch, now let's send the image to Shivam, and I will simply send the image of watch from here, and will simply send the image, and you will see that it simply shows that your image is uploading, but in no time the image has been sent to the user, and it simply shows in my app too, in my, I think so, in my Android device too. And you can see that we can successfully send the image here. Now let's send the other image here, and here you can see that how frequently the image is transferring from one device to the another, and we can successfully send an image. Now let's move ahead and let's send a voice note. So here in the Android device I will simply record a voice note from here. So I will simply tap to this mic icon and I will start recording. Hello, how are you? Do you like this app? We'll stop the recording and upload our audio. Now let's wait as audio is uploading. So here you can see that audio has been sent, and will simply play this audio in my Android device, and you will simply hear it. Hello, how are you? Do you like this app? So you can see that how we can simply send an audio to the other user in no time, and we can also send images, we can also send messages. So this is the app that we are going to simply make on this complete chat app course. Let's get started. So in the last part I have shown you how to simply create and complete UI for your chat up app, because as I have simply given this app name which is chat up, so that's why I'm telling a chat up app. If you haven't followed the last part, then I will simply add a complete playlist link in the comment box, so you can simply follow a complete playlist of this awesome chat app series and can be a part of this series and can add one more awesome app to your resume. Yeah, now let's move in our today's video. And in our today's video, as you can see that I am in the onboarding page, and in the onboarding page we'll simply add first authentication, which is going to be a Google authentication, as you can see here. Now first I'm going to connect our app with an Firebase for both iOS and Android, and I will also teach you how to simply upload a data to the Firestore database. So for that I need to simply create a project in a Firebase first. So let's move to the Firebase account, and here you can see that I have simply moved to my Firebase account, and here you can simply enter your project name. So I will simply write my project name, which is chat up, and here I will simply click on continue button, continue again. Now I will simply select a default account for Firebase and click on create project. So as you can see that Firebase is preparing our project, so wait for a few seconds until it is done. Yeah, so here it is done and our project is ready. Now click on continue button and we'll directly move to the Firebase, and here you can see that I can simply connect iOS, Android and web app with a Firebase. So first I will teach you how to connect a iOS app, then I will move to Android app. So first let's move to the iOS, and here you can see that we need a Apple bundle ID. So we need to go to the iOS and we'll simply open a Xcode from here, and we'll move to the runner, and in the signing and capabilities we need to copy this bundle identifier from here and we'll simply paste it over here. Now click on register app and download this Google service info.plist file from here, and we'll simply paste it in below the info. Yeah, so we need to simply remove an older file if we have, then we'll simply rename our file and we'll simply paste it below the info. Yeah, now click on finish and here it is done. Now click on next, 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 continue to console. Yeah, so we here you can see that I have simply added an iOS app. Now let's move with an Android app. So in the Android app we need a Android package name. Now to get an Android package name, let's close this Xcode first and this one too. Now move to the Android app build.gradle. Now copy this package which is com example.chat app and here we'll simply paste this. Now click on register app and download google-services.json file from here and we'll simply get a file. Now we'll also remove the older file if we have and we'll simply rename the file something like this and we'll need to simply paste it on the Android app folder. Yeah, now click on next and we need to copy this ID and move to the Android build.gradle file and we need to simply paste it in the class path and we'll simply paste that link over here, not a link, you can say as a package, and we need to simply change some of the lines in the class path something like this. Yeah, so here it is done and this is how we can simply add this class path in our dependencies section. Yeah, now after this we'll simply move to the plugin and we need to copy this plugin and we need to simply paste in Android app build.gradle file something over where here in apply plugin section and we'll simply paste it over here. Yeah, something like this. Now we need to copy these two implementations that we simply need to implement a Firebase in our Android app. Now here once we have done all this thing, click on next, continue to console. Yeah, so here you can see that we have successfully added a iOS and Android app here. Now let's move and we are going to add some of the packages from the pubdev because that packages will simply help us to connect a Firebase with our Flutter app, right? So let's move to the pubdev and here you can see that we need to add some of the packages from the pubdev. So I will simply copy some of the packages like will copy like Cloud Firestore, which will be the first package, and this package will simply help us to upload the data to the Firestore database. So move to the installing, copy the package from here, and we need to simply paste it in the perspec.ml file, something like over here. Now let's move to our second package which is Firebase Core. Now Firebase Core package will help us to simply connect our Flutter app with a Firebase to get all the core features in our app. Yeah, so that's why this package is been used and we'll simply paste it in the perspec.ml file. So now let's add our third package will be a Firebase storage. Now the Firebase storage will simply help us to handle a storage that Firebase provides by using a Firebase storage package. Now we need to copy this package and we'll simply paste it over here. Now let's move to our fourth package which is Cloud Firestore. I think so Cloud Firestore is done. Yeah, now we need to add image picker. Now the image picker will help us to image picker will help us to simply pick a data from our phone gallery and we can simply use that image to upload in a Firebase storage. Yeah, so our fourth package is image picker. Now our fifth package, I think so we need a random string. I will tell you the use of random string, like where we are going to use a random string. Like if you have followed my old series, then you already know the use of random string, but if not, then I will simply tell you how to use a random string in a Firebase, right? Now copy this package and we'll simply paste it over here. Now remove all these package versions from the package you have added because this will simply help you to, like if you are using a old version of Flutter, then this packages will take the version accordingly and help you to simply add the features in the app, right? Now let's move to the leaf folder and in the pages onboarding.dart, and here first thing I'm going to add is a Google authentication. Now to add a Google authentication we need to move to the Firebase first, but before moving to the Firebase I need to add a two lines in our main.dart file to simply enable a Firebase in our app. So let's move to the main.dart file, and here we need to simply write async widgets flutter binding dot ensure initialized, and we need to write await firebase firebase dot initialize app. So these are the two important lines. Please do not forget to add these two lines over in the void main function, because then you can't simply add a Firebase in your app, right? Now let's move to the home.dart here back again. Sorry, not home.dart. We'll move to the onboarding.dart file, and here in the onboarding.dart file I will simply add a sign in with Google authentication, which is a Google authentication. So for that we need to enable the Google authentication from a Firebase. So let's move to the Firebase first, and we'll simply move to the authentication, and in the authentication let's first click on get started button. Now move to the Google authentication and click on enable button. Use any default email account and click on save. So this will simply enable a Google authentication in your app. Now here comes one main thing. So as you can see that when you simply enable a Google authentication from a Firebase, then you need to do some of the changes in both iOS and Android. So for the iOS, you need to simply download Google service-info.plist again, because there will be some changes on this file, and that changes is very necessary to be add on the Xcode. So let's move to the Xcode first. But before that, if you have the old file, then you simply remove that and rename the file here again. Something like this. Now we'll simply minimize this and we'll simply open a Xcode from here, because we need to add this new file in the Xcode again. Yeah, so here you can see that we have simply open a Xcode. Now let's move and we'll simply shift the file, but before that remove the older file that you have. So I will simply delete this file from here and we'll move to trash, and now I am going to simply get that file. So where that file is, yeah, here it is. So I will simply paste it over here below the info again and click on finish, and here it is done. So once you have done all this thing, now let's move to the Google service dash info file, and here you can see a reverse client ID. Now you need to copy this reverse client ID from here, then move to the runner, signing and capabilities. Not, we need to go to the info, and in the info you will see the URL types. Move to the URL types, click on this plus button and simply paste that link over in the URL schemes. Now iOS are simply ready to handle a Google authentication. But now let's move for the Android. So for the Android, you can see that it simply says that you need to add SHA1 fingerprint. Now there is a link, a two different link I will say for the Windows and the iOS. So I will simply show you the two links that you can simply run in the terminal file, and through the terminal you can simply get a SHA1 fingerprint, and that fingerprint you can simply add in the project overview. You will go, so here you can see the Android. Now here you will go down and here you can see that it simply says that add fingerprint. Now click on this button and you can simply paste the SHA1 fingerprint over here. Now I will not show you what SHA1 fingerprint I have, because I will also recommend you that do not share this fingerprint with anyone, because as it name says fingerprint, so it is a very unique ID, and the hackers, or you can say anyone can simply get the access of your device. So do not share SHA1 fingerprint with anyone. So that is a unique fingerprint. So that's why I won't show you how to simply get SHA1 fingerprint. I will show you the link from which command you can simply get that SHA1 fingerprint, right? So when you will move to a Stack Overflow website, so here you can see that it simply explain how to get a SHA1 fingerprint by using the this command. So you can simply use this command and can get a SHA1 fingerprint. Now I will recommend you to use a Stack Overflow website because this is a best website to simply found any errors if you are getting while developing an app or anything related to a Flutter, right? Now let's close this and now let's move back to the app move and we'll simply add a complete backend for our Google authentication. So for that I will simply move to the leaf folder and will simply create a new folder name services, and inside the services folder I will simply create a new file which will be auth.dart. Yeah, now on this file first I am going to simply write a class name which is auth methods, and in the auth methods I will do one thing. I will simply write final, and here I will use a Firebase authentication. Now the Firebase authentication, we haven't, I think so, added a Firebase auth package to enable authentication in our Flutter app. So let's move to the pub dev back again because we need to add a Firebase authentication from there. So we here simply search Firebase auth, yeah, and we need to copy this package and we'll simply paste it over here. Where? Over here in the perspec.ml file. Now remove this version from here to simply run this package. Now once you have done all this thing, here I am going to simply write Firebase auth, and we'll write auth is equals to Firebase auth dot instance. Yeah, so this is how we can simply add a authentication. This is just a command to simply add a authentication in this auth method class. And now I am going to simply use a function name which is get current user. Now the get current user function is very helpful because it will simply check that if the specific user have authenticate in the app or not. So that's why we need this function which is get current user, and we'll write auth dot current user. Yep. Now once you have simply wrote this function, now come our main thing which is a function to write whose name will be sign in with Google, and this function we are simply going to call in our button so that we can simply enable a Google authentication in our app. Now I am going to simply copy the sign in with Google code and will simply paste it over here, and I will show you what all things we are going to upload to the Firestore database. I will just try to copy the code for the Google authentication because as I have told you many times, like you don't need to simply remind that code, and I have used a Google authentication many times in my series before. Simply paste a code for sign in with Google as you can see here. Now here you can see that there is a red underline because we have didn't added Google sign in package. So let's move to the pub dev and we'll simply add one more package which is Google sign in. So you can simply also write, I think so it will be a sign in with Google. No, it will be a Google signing. So this is the package that we are going to use. Now copy this package again here and we'll simply paste it in the perspec.ml file. Now simply run this file here again. Now here it is done. Now let's call this here, and here it is gone, and call this too. Yeah, so this is a code we have simply written for a Google authentication. Now let's move, and here I am going to simply write a data that we want to simply upload to the Firestore database. Now here I will use a map to simply upload a data which is a string dynamic, and you already know the use of map. like how and like what is map and how we can simply use a map. If not, I will again suggest you to simply follow a Flutter beginners course that I have simply made for you all. Yeah. Now here I've written a map and will write a map name which is user info map. Yeah. Now after this, I need to simply pass a name which will be a my name, and I will simply write a name like this, like user details dot, and will pass a display name, something like this. Now we can use a exclamation mark, or you can say a null check over here. And next I need to get a user email, so we'll write user details dot, and we'll write an email to simply get a email, user details dot email, something like this. Now next I need to get a user image, so we'll write user details again dot, and we'll write photo URL to get his image. Now I need to also upload a ID, because as I'm going to provide a unique ID to each user, so that I can simply track a user in the Firestore and can send the message to that respective user. So we are going to provide a unique ID to the each user to send the respective message to that user. For an example, if Shyam want to send a message to Divya, if we didn't keep a unique ID over here, so we can't track the user. Now if the Shyam want to send a message to Divya, and for an example, if we don't keep a unique ID, then the app will simply get confused, and the message that have been sent by a Shyam to Divya will be sent to a Shruti. So that will be a big problem for us, Shyam. So we don't want our users who are using the app to be in a problem. So let's make the app by providing the unique ID to the each user, right? So we'll write user details dot UID, and this will simply provide a unique ID to the respective user. Now once we have written all this thing, now this is not fixed. When we'll move forward in the app, we are going to add some more things over here, like we need to also add a username and all, but don't need to worry. For now I am keeping this as it is, but later as we move to this series, then I will show you what all things we are going to upload over here. Now let's move, and we'll simply create a function to upload a data to the Firestore database. Now here I will move to the services folder and will simply create a new file name which will be a database.dart. Now in this database.dart file, first I'm going to write a class name which is a database methods. Yeah. Now in this database methods, I'm going to first write a future, and here I'm going to simply pass my function name which is add user. Yeah. And here first I'm going to pass a map, a string dynamic, and we'll simply keep user info map, which is our map name, and we are also going to provide the ID which is a unique ID that I have shown you now. And here we'll simply write return await Firebase Firestore dot instance dot collection, and will simply pass the collection name which will be the users. Will pass a specific doc ID which is ID, and will use a set method, and in the set method will simply pass user info map. So this is how we can simply upload a data to the Firestore database. Now let's call this function in odd.dart, and here I will simply write await database methods dot add user, and we'll write user info map, and to pass the unique ID I will simply use user details dot UID. Yeah, something like this. Now we'll use dot then. Now once the data has been successfully uploaded to the Firestore, then we need to simply show the toast message that will simply indicate the user that they have registered successfully, right? So to show that toast message, we are going to use a scaffold messenger. So we'll write a scaffold messenger dot of context dot and we'll write a show snack bar, and we are going to simply show the snack bar below. So we'll use a snack bar over here, and in the snack bar we need to write a content. For the content we'll use a text widget, and in the text widget I will simply pass a text which will be a registered. I hope that spelling is correct. Registered successfully. So I will write successfully. Yeah. So this is the text we are simply going to show. Now here first I need to simply pass a style so that I can pass a text style to my text that I've used. So let's pass color, which will be simply colors.black. Font size, let's increase the font size up to 22.0, and font weight will be simply a bold. So that's why I'm using a style over here, something like this. Now here I can use a background color also. So we'll use background color, and as this is a green signal, I think so if you have followed my old series, then you also know that the reason why I'm saying green signal and a red signal. So it is a positive sign. So that's why green signal, and that's why I'm using colors dot green over here. Yeah. So we have written all the thing that we need to simply execute our authentication with the help of Google. Now let's move to the onboarding.dart file back here again. And in the container where we have root, we'll simply first wrap up with a gesture detector. And in the onTap method, I will simply first write my class name, which is auth methods dot, and we'll write our function name, which is sign in with Google. Yeah. So this is just a single line thing, and by using a different class we have used a Google authentication. So this is also a state management, but I keep on saying that what is this state management you have used, etc. So this is also a state management by using a class widget. So by using the class you can also manage a state of Google authentication, and you can see that by just passing a one line over here I can simply add a Google authentication. So this is also a state management, right? Now let's test all the things that I have simply written over here. So I need to simply run the app first, and then I will show you how the Google authentication going to work in my emulator. I have rerun the app successfully. Now before I will test a Google authentication, as you know that we are going to upload a data to the Firestore database, so we need to simply enable a Firestore database from a Firebase. So let's move to the Firebase first, and here we'll simply move to the Firestore database, and in the Firestore database I will simply, so it's loading, so wait for a few seconds. Yeah, so now click on create database button and click on next. Click on create button, and it will simply Cloud Firestore will set up your security rules, and in the rules we need to simply change from false to true. Yeah, so move to the rules and we'll simply change from now false to true, and here we'll change false to true, and we'll click on publish button. Yeah, so do not forget to change these security rules from here, otherwise it will simply, you can't upload the data to the Firestore database. Now once you have done all this thing, let's move to the our auth.dart file. Now I'm telling auth.dart file because as I've told you that we are going to make some of the changes in the user info map. So let me do that changes over here, otherwise we need to simply again use authentication and all the things that will simply complex all the process. Yeah, so here first I want to simply show the username. Now what is an username in this chat app? So in this username, like, we are going to provide a unique username to the each user. Now the reason behind this, so as you know that if you have used Instagram, I know that almost all of them have used a Instagram or they have an Instagram ID. Every user have their own unique username, and when we search that unique username in the search bar, we get that specific user ID. So that same feature I'm going to implement on this chat app. So let's create a unique username for the each user. So for that I need to simply create here a string which will be the username, and we are going to simply get a username. So for an example, if my email id is shivam22ckp@gmail.com, so I will simply remove @gmail.com from there, and shivam22ckp will be my like a unique username. Yeah, so this is how the unique username works. So I will write string username is equals to, and here I will simply write like user details dot uid, and in the uid, not sorry uid, in a mail I need to use users details dot email over here, and will simply replace. So we need to use a replace all function, and here the replace all function will simply tell what to replace and through which to replace. Yeah, so this is how the replace all function work. Yeah, I hope it is much clear. So it simply says that pass a null check over here. Now we need to simply write that I need to make @gmail.com to space, and we need to just replace it with a space. Now we'll simply get a unique username over here. So this is how our unique username going to work. Now here I will write a username and will simply pass that username. Yeah, so we'll write a username and will simply pass that username. I will simply change my username to uppercase. Now you will ask that why. So I will tell you the reason why we have simply do that. Yeah, now we need to pass a search key. A search key will now help us to simply get a first letter of the our username. Now I am using the search key is because this search key will simply help us to search a specific username in a search bar. Now if you have followed my some of the old series like event booking app, food delivery apps, or I think so recipe app, in most of the app we have used a search bar, and you already know that if you have followed the use of search key. But if not, then I'm simply going to tell you later. Yeah, so now I'm going to get my first letter, so I will simply write a string first letter is equals to, and here first I'm going to get a username dot substring, sorry, a substring. Now the substring will simply give me the string from how much I need to cut that string. So I will start from 0 because I need just first letter of that string, and I just need a first letter from, so I will write 0 to 1, and I need on uppercase, so we'll write dot to uppercase. Yeah, now we need to simply pass that first letter over here, something like this. So this is how we can pass a username and a search key, and these are the two most important things that we need. Now here comes one more thing that we need to add is a shared preference. Now shared preference is something that will simply help us to save the data locally. Yeah, now here in locally we are going to save a name, email, the user picture, his username, so that we can use that thing again and again rather than calling our details from a server. Yeah, so let's move to the perf dev because we need to copy a package name shared pref, shared preference, you can say that. Yeah, so we'll move to the perf dev, and here I will simply write shared preference, shared preference. I hope that spelling will be correct. CE will be, yeah. So here you can see the shared preferences package. Now move to the installing and copy this package, and we'll simply paste it in the perspec.ml file. Now here we need to simply create one file in the shared services folder, which is shared pref, and here I'm going to save all the commands through which I can handle a shared preference. Now I won't take lots of time by showing you all the code for the shared preference, because I use a shared preference in all of my series. So you already know that how to use a shared preference, so I won't write a complete code for that. Yeah, So let me write the code. So here I have created one class name which is shared preference helper, and in this class I am going to save all the data regarding a shared preference, right? You can see that I have written a complete code for the shared preference. Now here I am telling that if you want to simply pause a video and write a code, you can do that. But if you want to simply get a code, I will simply provide a code link in the description box, so you can simply get a code from there. Now here I have simply tried to save a user ID, his name, email, image, and his username. So these are the some data that I will simply save them locally. Now we'll simply call all the thing over here so that I can simply save them all. So I will simply write await shared preference helper dot save, and first I'm going to simply save the user display name. So we'll use user details dot name, display name. Yeah, so this how we can simply save the user display name, or you can say a real name. Now once we have saved the username, we need to simply save his image and all the things that I've simply tell you now. So we'll simply save his email. So let me write all the code regarding that. Yeah, so I have written all the code where we can simply save a data locally. Now we can simply test our app, but before testing the app, I will recommend you to please close the emulator and all and simply rerun the app, complete app again, because we have added some of the packages just now. So it will simply help you to, not me to, help you to save all the data locally and in the Firestore database. Yeah, on successfully. Now we can simply test a Google authentication. So here I will simply press to this sign in with Google button, and here click on continue button, and now I'll simply choose my one of my Google account to simply sign up in the app. Now you can see the message register successfully, and we have successfully registered in the app. So let's move to the Firebase and we'll simply check what all data has been uploaded to the Firestore database. And here we'll simply refresh this page. And you can see a user's collection with a specific document ID, the email that I have used to simply sign up, the unique ID of an user, the image, yeah, the name, you can see my name, the search key, as I've told you, telling you that we'll simply get a first letter which is S, and the username. So this is a simply a username. So if anyone want to have a chat with me, they can simply search this username and can have a direct chat with me. Yeah, so this were all the main things. Now once we have registered successfully, I want to simply push the user to the home page. Now to do that, I need to simply use a navigator function to simply push the user, and we'll use navigator dot push material page route context, and here I will push the user to the home page. Here back again. Yeah, you can use a push replacement rather than a push. So you can simply bring a home page in place of onboarding page, and now the user can't go back to the app. Yeah, so that's why you can use a push replacement rather than a push. So these are the thing we need to simply add a Google authentication in the app. So if you haven't hit that like button till now, then what you are waiting for? So hit that like button and show your support. And as I'm noticing that while 80% of you are loving our videos but haven't hit that subscribe button yet, so show your support by hitting that subscribe button and let's be a part of this awesome Flutter family. So show your support. I know that you have definitely hit that subscribe button. Now let's move, add all the things that we need to simply have a direct chat with any of the users. I have shown you how to save a data locally. Now I will simply use that data that we have simply saved in a shared preference. So for that I need to simply create a string over here, and in the from the shared preference I will simply get the username, the profile pic, his display name and his email. Yeah. So first I'm going to create a backend for our chat page. Like I will simply show you how one user can simply send a message to the another user. So to handle that case, I need to simply get my all the data from the shared preference that we have simply saved the data locally. Now here I'm going to write a string, and now I'm going to write my username. Now here I'm going to write my name and my email. Yeah. So once you have written all this thing, my username, my name, my email, now let's call all the thing from the shared preference. Now I'll simply show you how to get all the data from the shared preference. So here I'll simply create a one function name which will be get the shared pref. Yeah. Now one by one we are simply going to get a data that we have saved in our system, or you can say in the app locally. So here I will use my username to first get my username is equals to, and here I will write await shared preference helper dot get display name, and I will do same for my name, sorry, not display name. I need to get a username, so I will simply call dot get username rather than a display name, because we are simply saving that in a my username string. Yeah. Now I'll simply use my name, and now I'm going to call all the things that we simply need over here. And we need also a profile pic of my, so I will write profile. Rather than profile we can just write like a picture, and we can simply write like my picture, and we can just write my picture over here, and we can simply get it from the shared preference. So we'll again use a shared preference helper dot get my picture, which is get user image. Yeah. So we have called all the things that we need to simply get over here, and we'll simply use a set state. Now in the init state I will simply call the get the shared pref. So as you know that when the app simply launch, init state is the first function that simply call. Yeah. So that's why I've simply passed get the shared pref over here, something like this. Yeah. So once you have done all this thing, now let's move forward, and here I'm going to simply create one unique ID. Now you will tell that you have simply created a unique ID before for each user, right? But I want to simply provide a unique chat room ID. Now what is a chat room ID? So for an example, if there is a conversation that's simply going between a Shyam and Shivam, yeah, so there is some space they need like a chat room where they can simply have a private chats, yeah, between a Shyam and a Shivam, and that chat can't be seen by any of the users. So that will be a specific chat room ID that I'm going to provide. So this will help, like when the Shyam want to simply talk to Shivam, they will simply use that chat room ID to go to that chat room and can send the message to Shivam. Yeah. So this is how we need to simply create a unique chat room ID for the each users who are simply talking one to one. Yeah. So here I need to write get chat room, and here I will simply use ID by user name. Yeah. Now here I'm going to pass a string A and B, and in this string A and B I'm going to simply pass my username and the username through which I am talking. The username, you can say that. Yeah. Now once we have done all this thing, we need to write if a dot substring will start from 0 to 1. So this is how I will simply create a unique chat room ID. So this is a process to create that. Yeah. Now we'll write code unit at index and will simply pass 0 is greater than b dot substring, and will pass from 0 to 1 is dot code unit at 0, sorry 0 not o, and will simply return like dollar sign $b, some symbol like this, and again a dollar sign to get a value. So this is how we can simply create a chat room by using a two username of an user. So I will show you how this chat room ID will look alike. Yeah. Something like this. Yeah. So here I have simply wrote a function which is get chat room ID by user name. Now I need to simply get all the chat room ID here. So I will write chat room ID. So for that I need to simply create a string which will be a chat room ID, something like this, and here I will write chat room ID is equals to get chat room ID by username, and as I've told you I will simply pass my username and the username whom from which user I'm talking. So for my username I will simply pass my username. Now the user through which I'm having a chat will simply get it from a string, like where the user will tap all the chats that they can see on the home page, like they simply, like I'm Shivam and I simply tap to the chat like I had with Shyam. Now when I'll tap to Shyam, then I will simply move to the chat page and I need to simply get a Shyam username, right? Now first I need to simply get his name, his profile URL, and you can say we need to also get his username. Yeah. Now we need to write a chat page and let's call all this thing one by one, which is name, his profile URL, and his username, something like this, and let's call all this thing. Yeah. So once you have passed this, now we can simply pass the username like as I've told you, and we'll simply write widget dot username, something like this. Now once we have get a chat room ID, like a unique chat room ID, now we simply move to the chat page, and once we have moved to the chat page, I want to simply execute a function so that I can have a direct chat, right? Now here you can see that we have added a text field to send a message to that user, right? Now in the text field, to handle a text, we simply enter here we need a text editing controller. So text editing controller will simply add over here, which will be a message controller is equals to new text editing controller, something like this, and we can simply call a message controller over here. So I'll simply write a controller and a message controller. Yeah. Now once we handle a text that the user enter on the text field. Now we need to simply send this message to the other user that I'm having a chat. So for that we need to simply create one function name which is add message. So here I will write a function name which will be add message, and in this message I first need to pass a bool and will pass send clicked, and here we'll need to simply pass if message controller dot text is not equals to space. I mean that the text that the user going to enter on the text field. Now let me show what text field I'm talking about. So let's call this and let's pass this space, and when we'll add a backend I will show you what all thing will simply pass over here. I just want to show the text field so that you can simply get clear like what I'm talking about. Yeah. So save all the pages first and let's call the chat page over here. So we'll simply hot restart, and this is a text field I'm talking about. So like when the user will simply enter the text over here, and if this text field is not empty, then we are going to execute a add message function. Now add message function will be called when the user will click to this send button. Yeah, I hope it is much clear. Now we need to simply write a string, and first I need to simply get a message which will be a message controller dot text. Yeah, and we'll simply once we send the message I need to simply like clear this text field so that the user can get a chance to send a next message. So here I will use message controller dot text and will simply blank that text field, something like this. Now here I'm going to simply use one more thing which is a date time. Now as you know that we have also shown the time when the user is sending their last message over in the home page. So that's why I'm going to use a date time and will simply write date time dot now, something like this. Now we'll need to pass a string, a formatted date is equals to date format, something like this. For date format we need to use an intl package over here. So I will just move to the perspec.ml and will simply write intl and will simply call this package. So this will help us to handle all the things regarding a date format that we need. Yeah, I hope it is much clear. Now let's move to the chat page here again, and here I'm going to simply write a date format, something like this. Now here I need to simply get a date format in hour and a minute form. So I'll simply use dot something like this and will pass dot format now. Yeah. Now here I'm going to pass a map so that I can simply upload a data to the files to database string dynamic and will write message info map. Yeah, and this is a message, and here I'm going to simply pass the message that we get, and here we need to simply track like who has sent this message. So if this message has been sent by me, then here I'm going to pass sent by, and here I will simply use my username because I'm clicking this button to execute this add message function. So yes, this message has been sent by me, so I'm using my username over here. Yeah, now here I'm going to use a timestamp so that we can simply track like which is the first message, like first message over here and the other message at the top. I know you have used WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, so you know how the chatting works. Like a newer message simply comes at the bottom with a older message at the top. Yeah, so to track that I need to use a timestamp, and here I'm going to use a time again, and in the time I need to simply just write feed value dot server timestamp, something like this. Now I need to also pass image URL, which will be the image, and here I'm going to simply pass my profile picture, which is my picture, something like this. So once you have done all this thing, here comes one more thing, which is passing a unique ID to the each message that we are sending. Yeah, so for that I need to simply create one string which will be a message ID. Yeah, something like this. And here I will simply write a message ID is equals to random alpha numeric 10, and I will simply pass a unique string to this message ID. And now I am going to simply call one function which is add message, but before that we need to simply write one function name in database.dart file, which will be future, and here I will write add message, and here I'm going to simply pass first a unique chatroom ID where I'm going to send this message. So you will think that how I have written all the add message and what is update last message send function has been written over here. Sorry for that, because I was simply recording a video, but I don't know how this recording stops. I am facing this problem, though I'm using a Mac, but the Apple products sometime won't work as the thing demand. But I will fix that, no worries about that. So here you can see that in the add message function, I have simply written like a chat room ID, and we have also passed a message ID which is a unique message ID that I have shown you, and a map. So here you can see that in the collection I have passed a chat rooms. Now in the chat rooms collection we are going to simply show all the chat rooms where the users are going to have a chat, like a Shyam and Shivam will going to have a chat that will be saved in the chat room collection, and they will have a unique chat room ID. And in the collection chats we are going to show all the chats that these two users are going to have, right? So this is how we can simply track like all the message that have been done in a specific chat room ID. Now the reason for providing a unique chat room ID to the each chat room is because, for an example, if like Shyam and Shivam having some conversation between them which is like a private and they don't want to share with anyone, like they are two main employees of any company, then we need to simply keep that message private by using a specific chat room ID. Now I don't want that the Shyam should send a message to Shivam, and if we won't keep a unique chat room ID for the each chat room, then that message will be sent to someone else. So that will not make a sense, like when the two users are having a chat. But now think about a same situation if someone is on relationship and our two partner are having a private chat, and if the message has been sent to someone else, then that will simply create a problem to both of that partners. So that's why I need to use a unique chat room ID, and this is one of the most important thing when you are using making a chat app from the scratch. Yeah, so make sure you provide a unique chat room ID to the each chat room where the two users having a chat. Yeah, I hope it is much clear. Now let's move to the chat page, and here I will show you I have simply do one thing, like I've used database methods to call a add message function, and once the data or message has been uploaded to the Firestore database, then I have simply used like last message info map. We again created one map because, as you can see that we need to keep a track of the last message that have been sent on the specific chat room. Now you will think that why to keep a last message track in the chat room. As you know that in the home page we have shown the name and the last message that has been sent here on that chat room. Now to keep the track of the last message that have been sent on that chat room, we need to use a last message info map over here. Yeah, now here when we'll move to database.dart file, I've created one function which is update last message sent, and in the collection chat room we keep on tracking like what was the last message. So that's why you can see that I have uses dot update function. So for an example, if the message has been sent like hey how are you, then this will simply hold a message like this was the last message that has been sent on this chat room. Now the user gave a reply like I'm fine. Yeah, so now we need to simply update the last message that have been sent on that chat room. So that's why we have simply used dot update function. So don't need to worry, I will show you how this all the things going to work in the Firestore database. Now let's move to our chat page, and here we need to just write a await. Here again we need to write like database methods dot update last message sent that I've shown you, and we need to again pass a chat room ID and the last message that have been sent. Now once the send is clicked, like if this is clicked, then we need to simply, as I told you, that blank this text field so that the user can get a chance to send a next message. Yeah, so that's why we need to make our message to null, something like this. Rather than null you can use a space. I guess a space will be much better rather than using a null over here. So we have wrote a complete add message function. Now I will show you how the tracking will be going to work and what is a unique chat room ID. Yeah, so here I have added one of the user whose name is Ayush in our Firestore database. So let me show you what all things I have added in the Firestore database. So here you can see that in the user section, I have simply added one random user with his user email and ID, his image, his name Ayush Sharma, a search key and his username. So this is the username, like a unique username that the Ayush has, through which I can have a direct chat. So this is my ID, that Shivam 21, and this is the Ayush ID through which I can have a chat. Now here in the chat up app, we have also added a search option like a execution for our search bar, because as I have already added a search bar many times before on my series, so I don't want to make this video length very long by telling you to all the process for the search bar. I will cover all the things, but the search bar I have like teach more than 10 times before. So here you can see that I have simply added, I will just tell you like what all things I have added for the search bar. So here you can see that I have added one function name initiate search that will be simply called when the user will start typing on this text field. And as you can see that in the text field, I have simply called wrote one controller, a search controller that will simply handle a text that the user enter on the text field, and in the onChanged method I have simply called a initiate search function and have simply changed the value to uppercase. Now here you can see that I have passed on change function. So the on change function will simply do that. So for an example, if I will start typing on this text field, the on change function will simply get called in the text field and the initiate search function will going to work. Now initiate search function will simply search the user by using the search key that we have passed. So that's why I have passed a search key over here. So this is the advanced searching that I'm going to use in the chat app, because this will help you to simply make your app more user friendly. Like when I will start like A, then it will show me all the users name that start with A, like Ayush, or let's keep like Anamika. So all the users whose name starts with A. You have seen this same feature in an Instagram. So we are using that exact feature in our chat up app. Yeah. So this is a search key that going to work, and here in the home page you can see that I have passed a element username. So I need to get a username. I will show you how this search function will work over here. And here in the search, you can see that if the search is true, like if I'm searching any of the username and search becomes true, then it will show me all the list name that starts with that letter, right? So this is how the search function going to work. Now let me show you the example. So here you can see that, let me call the Ayush 356 username here in the app. So I will simply write AY, and you can see that it shows me the username that starts with AY. So in our backend, there is one username whose name is Ayush Sharma. So here you can see Ayush Sharma and his username Ayush356. So here it simply shows the username and his image. So these are all the things that we can simply do through the search bar, and I have added this search bar. And if you want to get a code, as I have told you, I have simply pasted a link in the description box. You can get it from there. Now let's move, and here where we have shown this card. So this is a card that I'm talking about, a container thing. You can see now, once this container have been shown, now when the user will tap to this container, they will directly move to the username, right? No, sorry, not username, to a chat page where they can have a direct chat with Ayush. So Shivam and Ayush can have a direct chat. Now to execute that, now I'm going to show how to write that thing. So first I will do one thing, like I need to make a search to false, and because once we move to the chat page, then we don't need a search feature, so we'll simply tell to search to become false. Yeah, now here we need to simply create a unique chat room ID that I've told you. So their chat room ID will be created between Ayush and Shivam, because I've searched a Ayush username over here. Yeah, so to execute that, I need to simply get a chat room ID by username function that we have simply wrote in a chat page. So I'll simply copy this function from here and will simply paste in the home page, something like this. Yeah, now once we have simply paste this function, now I need to write a var, and here I will use a chat room ID to get my unique ID first. Then I will move to the chat room. So first I will get my ID, like I will ask the app what is my unique chat room ID, give me, so that I can have a private chat with Ayush. Yeah, so I will write my username. So I'll first pass my username. Now we need to get a username from shared preference. So I think so we need to copy all this thing from here, not all this thing we need exactly, but oh, I have already pasted this, so why I paste it again, sorry for that. I'll simply paste it over here. We don't need message controller, so we'll remove this. I need some strings, so I'll copy this strings. I think so from here will be okay. We'll paste it over here. We'll call the shared preference. Now we don't need this, so I'll remove this from here. Maybe later, I don't know now if we need. And here I will simply pass my username, which is my username. Now once I have passed my username, I need to pass like the Ayush username through which I'm going to have a chat. Yeah, so I will write Ayush username. So through the data, I will simply call this text field, which is a username, and that username will be simply passed over here. Yeah, so through the data function, we are going to do that, right? Now here, I'm going to simply create a map, a string, a dynamic. Now here a chat info map, something like this, and here, so in the chat info map, we are going to show what all users are going to have a chat in this chat room. So the chat room will be for me and Ayush. So here I will write my username first. So, and the username through which I'm going to have a chat. So that's why I will simply write other user name, something like this. Yeah, so here it is. Now once we have done all this thing, we need to simply create a chat room. Now to create a chat room, I need to simply write a function name which will be a create chat room. Yeah, So to write this function, I need to move to the database.dart file, and here I need to simply write one function name, which is create chat room. Yeah, and now I need to simply pass a string, a chat room ID first. So I will write chat room ID, and here I am going to pass a map string dynamic again. So I will write string dynamic and a chat room info map, something like this. Yeah, a sync, and a final, I will write final snapshot is equals to. Now you will think that why I've written a snapshot. Now the snapshot is something that will simply help us to read each document that have been stored in the specific collection. So that's why I've used a snapshot, and we'll write await, and we'll write firebase firestore dot instance dot collection, and here I'm going to pass a collection name which is chat rooms, and in the doc I'm going to pass a unique username which is a chat room ID. Username, I mean to say a unique chat room ID, and through the get we are going to simply get the ID first. Then once we have get this, like, this snapshot will simply check that if the specific, like for an example, if I search Ayush here, yeah, now if I have like already haven't chat with Ayush before, now I want that I need to simply go to that specific chat room to have a chat between Ayush and Shivam, like we have a previous chat before. Now I don't want to simply create a new chat room. So like Ayush and Shivam haven't chat 2 days back. Now I again search Ayush in this app over here, and I'm clicking to this ID. Now I want to simply move to the same chat room. I have a direct chat with Ayush before, like 2 days back. Then I want that I need to simply move to the new chat room ID. So this will simply keep a track, like we need to send the user to that chat room ID that they haven't chat before. So it will check that if they haven't chat before or not. So that's why now I'm going to simply use a if condition, and will simply check that if snapshot exists, like if that chat room exists, like if Ayush and Shivam haven't chat before or not. So if they haven't chat before, then we'll simply pass return true, yes they haven't chat before, I don't need to create a chat room. So create chat room function will not execute over here, and it will not create a new chat room. I hope it is much clear. Now if they haven't have a chat before, then we are going to simply pass return, and in the return I'm going to simply create a new chat room for them. I hope that, because I'm trying my best to explain you all, so this is how I can be, how vocally I can explain you, and I hope that you can understand all this thing. Now if you have any doubt or anything, you can simply comment me in the comment box, and if you want to show your support, hit that like button, because for this work you can hit that like button and be a subscriber of this channel by hitting the subscribe button and be a part of this awesome Flutter family. So we'll write .doc, and here I will simply pass that chat room ID .set, and here I'm going to simply pass a chat room info map, something like this. Yeah, so here it is. Now we can simply call this over here. So I will write await here again. So for that, yeah, we already passed an async. So we'll write database methods dot. Why I'm facing a problem, because I have wrote inside a bracket. I need to write outside a bracket, something like this. Yeah, now we need to simply write dot create chat room, and we already passed a chat room ID, and here I'm going to pass this map that we have written, which is chat info map, something like this. So once the chat room is created, or it will simply check that if the chat room exists, then don't create, and if it is, then create. And once we have done all this thing, we will directly push the user to a which page, a chat page. So here I am going to push the user to the chat page. Context, and now we'll simply push the user to the chat page, something like this. And now I need to simply pass the name of an user that I'm going to have in chat, and in the profile user URL I'm going to send his image. So we'll use data and his image and a username where I'm going to pass his username. So we'll write data and his username. So we'll use username, something like this. Yeah, so this is all the things that we need to simply do for our create chat room thing. Yeah, I hope it is very clear for you. Now we have written lots of code. Now let me show you what all thing I'm talking about. Yeah, so let's simply hot restart the app first. Now I will simply want to have a chat with Ayush. So I will simply search Ayush username. Now I'll click to this Ayush Sharma username, but we will face some error over here. It simply says that null check error. Null check error is because I think so I haven't passed that in the init state. Yeah, I am right. In the init state, make sure you pass the get the set pref function. Yeah, now let hot restart the thing again, and now I will write Ayush Sharma. Yeah, now I'll simply click to this, and null is not a subtype of string, so we are getting something null over here. Let me see what we are getting in null over here. Yeah, so the null thing was coming because here you can see that we have passed small n over here rather than capital N, because in the text field you can, like in this field, you can see that the name is written capital and we have simply passed a small over here. So that was simply making a mistake. Now this is also important thing when you are making an app with a Firebase. Make sure your field name should be exact what the field name you have passed over here. Don't do mistake just like me. Yeah, I hope you are much smarter than me. Yeah, now here I will search again Ayush Sharma over here. Now I'll simply tap to this ID, and now we are successfully moved to the chat page. But here this is just a UI, we haven't changed anything, but our this function is working, I guess. Or let's move to the first to the chat page, and here first I will show you like this home.dart page how this function work that I was telling you. Like if there would be no chat room, then it will create a chat room. So this is a first chat that I'm trying to have with Ayush. So there would be a chat room that have been created in the Firebase. I know you are excited, so let's see that. So we'll move to the Firebase. You can see that a chat room collection has been created, and this is a chat room ID I am talking about. So this is a unique ID, and this unique ID has been created. So this is how the unique ID going to work, and the users that going to have a chat in this chat room ID is Shivam and Ayush. So this is my username and this is Ayush username. Now you have seen how we can simply create a chat room ID, and through this chat room ID now I can simply have a direct chat. Yeah, now let's move to the chat page, and here where we have created a send button, we'll simply wrap up with a gesture detector first, and in the on tab we'll simply call our function which is add message, and send clicked will be simply true. Yeah, because we have clicked this. Yeah, I hope it is clear. Now once we have done all this thing, now let's check this and let's send our first message to Ayush. So here I will simply just write hello Ayush. Ayush, how are you, boy? How are you? Now we'll simply send a message to Ayush, and let's see if it works. So the mistake was that here in the chat rooms, the first C was I have written was capital, and here you can see that it simply create another chat rooms collection, and the chat room that we want to simply respond is this chat room. So I am keep on telling that please make sure that you write all the correct collection names, because it will simply throw the error if you write a wrong collection name over here. So I will simply change the capital to small here, and now I'm simply going to remove the old collection that has been created, and I will simply remove and will paste and will delete. Yeah, so here it is. Now let's search Ayush first. So I'll simply hot restart the app, and here I will simply write Ayush Sharma, and here it is. Now I move to the chat, and here I'm going to send a first message to Ayush, which is hello, how are you? Yeah, now we'll simply send the message, and the message has been sent. Now let's check to the Firebase like what all data we simply get in the Firestore. So here we'll move to the chat rooms collection, and as I've told you, this is a unique chat room ID that where the Shivam and Ayush can have a private conversation. And here you can see that the last message that I was talking about, that we need to simply keep a track. So here you can see that the last message that have been sent on that chat room is hello, how are you? And who have sent this message? It has been sent by me, so that's why it simply shows my username. It also shows a time when I have sent this message. Now let's move to the chats collection, and here you can see that it simply create a chats collection, and this is ID, and here you can see the message that I have simply sent to Ayush, and this simply show my username and the time when I have simply sent this message. Now when I'll add the second message like I am fine, and will send the second message, and here you will see that the last message has been updated from how are you to I am fine. So this is how this thing work, and this is how the message has been sent. So we'll simply keep on updating the last message that I was keep on telling you to simply show the last message in the home page, right? I hope it is much clear. So this is it from this video. On our next part, I will simply teach you how to show all the message in the chat page first, where we have simply create a chat room for the two users, and we'll also add some more functionality like simply sending a audio message, or you can say sending a images. And in the home page we are also going to show all the chats that the user have done. So do not forget to hit that like button and show your support by hitting that like button and subscribe button. So hit that subscribe button so that you won't miss out on any of the upcoming videos we upload on this series. Until then, keep coding, keep having fun. I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.